some people have been absolutely exploited over leasehold. You've got lumbered with rates going up all the time, and some of the builders have involved in some disgusting rackets, making some homes unsellable. We have a guy you must listen to him, Sebastian O'Kelly. He's the director of Leasehold Knowledge Partnership. Right, he's fighting for you. And we've got a victim coming on, and for some reason Parliament doesn't seem 101% behind it. I'm puzzled by this. I want to have the fog cleared for me. Do listen to this. If you've got leasehold, if you've got freehold, you're laughing. If it's leasehold, listen to this item.
Love Sport, 558 AM.
Hi there, it's Kelvin MacKenzie and Patrick Chris's Love Sport Radio. It's 11:27 now. Here's some stats that will shock you. There are around 4.3 million homes with leases in England. 1.4 million are houses, so yeah, normally it's the flat. So 100,000 of the families are trapped in houses that are now unsellable because their contracts are so unfair. This is their leasehold contracts. Some double charges every decade, while other freeholds are sold on to third parties who only allow homeowners to buy them out for exorbitant fees. It's an absolute racket. They're a bunch of blinking crooks. Anyway, ministers have pledged to outlaw the sale of these new-built homes with leases following a public outcry. On the line right now, two kinds of people. There's Sebastian O'Kelly, who I vaguely know. He's director of Leasehold Knowledge Partnership. Morning, Sebastian.
Hi there.
And Jo Darbyshire, she really got caught up in the leasehold scandal, and and I really do salute her. She's co-founder of the National Leasehold Campaign. What happened to her was she and her husband Mark bought a detached 3-bedroom house for 400 grand from Taylor Wimpey in 2010. They were told about the £295 annual ground rent, and they would say it would double every 10 years, but were given assurances they would be able to buy the freehold for 5 grand. But less than 2 years later, the shysters who run Taylor Wimpey sold the freehold to an offshore company. That's the shysters who run Taylor Wimpey, and to an offshore company. The couple were not notified or given the right of first refusal on the freehold, a right flat leaseholders have, but house leaseholders don't have. So there's this legal loophole which people like Taylor Wimpey crash through. They've since been given a quote between 23,000 and 33,000 to buy out the leasehold of their home in Bolton. Could I come to you first, Jo? That's a shocking story. I bet it keeps you awake at night, doesn't it?
Oh, it certainly does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not the kind of money you have hiding down the sofa, is it?
No. Are you having any success in getting the shysters who run Taylor Wimpey to make good, to come up with the £23,000 to £33,000?
Not at all. Their amazingly well-funded PR machine would like everyone to think that they've put aside £130 million to help us, but it really doesn't solve the problem.
And why is that? Can't Taylor Wimpey simply pay that money direct to the company they sold it? They sold the leaseholds to?
Of course they would. Of course they could if they chose to. But that offer isn't on the table right now. The offer that is on the table right now is that they will. They'll pay my freeholder some compensation to convert my doubling ground rent to RPI. Yeah. But by the same token, I have to sign a settlement agreement that says I accept that as full and final settlement from them for this issue. And given it's still going to cost me thousands more than their salesperson told me in the first place, I don't see why I should have to sign that.
I totally agree with you. I mean, it's a big enough bet in life paying £400,000 for a house, let alone to find this kind of... it's not criminality, but it's commercial sharp practice, which the government should have absolutely cracked down on. Sebastian, you know Jo's story. There are lots of stories like this out there, aren't there?
Yeah, there are. I mean, there's about 12,000 doubling ground rents out there, and about 100,000 ground rents which are so high that mortgage lenders won't lend on them. So people are stuck in their homes, really. And so far the government has acted very inadequately to deal with this. I mean, people's lives are on hold, people are getting divorced, partners are dying, people are getting into debt. There's urgent reasons why people need to sell their properties, and they just can't at the moment.
So why don't the government, I mean, I am not a socialist, as you might gather, but why don't the government intervene in this particular case and simply say, we are going to pass a law against developers who have done this, even if it's retrospective, and I'm afraid the shareholders are going to have to take the pain. I mean, why don't they just do that?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, it was depressing that of the 10 MPs that were in the Select Committee on Monday, the least informed of them all was the Housing Minister. So that doesn't help matters. But the government has huge capacity to put pressure on the developers. We've paid out £8.3 billion through the Help to Buy scheme to help young first-time buyers get on the property ladder, own their own home, and the PLC house builders, such as Taylor Wimpey, who I'm glad you refer to in such forthright terms, I absolutely share that sentiment.
The shysters, Taylor Wimpey, you mean?
Exactly. I also want to pay tribute, Kelvin, to your excellent work on retirement leaseholds in another place, and I hope that resumes at some point.
All right, thank you very much. Well, Joe, what effect has the has all the Taylor Wimpey leasehold drama had on your own lives as ordinary people, you know?
I guess kind of my closest analogy is he's sort of a bit Erin Brockovich. His time away from my kids, and it doesn't get more personal than that.
No.
The amount of time I put into kind of helping other leaseholders. I mean, I'm one of the fortunate ones in the sense of I've got a big house here. It's big enough for my kids to grow up in. But it's like Sebastian says, there's so many other people who they're outgrowing their homes, you know, and they're trapped in this, you know, systematically engineered scam. It's disgusting.
It is. When you say to Taylor Wimpey, look, I'm an ordinary person, you know, I haven't got a lot of power, I make a big bet in my life, which is my house, and suddenly I find myself trapped in this way. What do they do? They just still kind of look at you and say, well, do your worst.
Their response is usually to point the finger at the conveyancing solicitors, which they recommended, and say, well, you were independently advised, so it's their problem, you know, they should have advised you. Mm-hmm. That's one of the attacks, and the other one is to just always come back and say we haven't done anything illegal. You know, maybe not. It's immoral.
I totally agree. It just gives capitalism a shocking name.
Yeah, I presume.
Kelvin,
go on, carry on.
Could I just make a point here?
Yeah.
Kelvin, I mean, earlier this week I was contacted by a young guy buying a £600,000 flat in North London with the Help to Buy scheme. So he's obviously doing quite well.
Yep.
The most expensive property you can buy on the Help to Buy scheme. He told the developer that he was going to use his own solicitor and mortgage advisor, and immediately the offer to buy that flat was withdrawn by the developer. Now, this is the sort of scams that are going on. I mean, enough of this nonsense.
Do you mean it was withdrawn because they feared that they would find the ticking bomb in the middle of the contract? Is that what you mean?
Well, quite possibly that, but what they wouldn't have is the sales process entirely in their own under their own control, as they would have if the guy had gone for one of their stooge solicitors. But given that stooge solicitors have landed thousands of families, including Joe's, into these appalling lease terms, they're not to be trusted. Any recommendation from a developer of a solicitor is reason in itself not to use them.
I totally agree. Why do you think, Sebastian, something as plain as a pikestaff, right, that this is wrong, it's quasi-criminal, it's commercial sharp practice at the very far end? Why do you think that the government don't feel more caught up in wanting to help the little guy out?
Well, there's a huge lobbying process going on at the moment, and we heard quite a bit of it at second hand from the Housing Minister. So they've employed very expensive companies like Crosby Textor, with the outfit which failed to win Theresa May's election last time round, and they're working for some of the freehold owners, and they're putting a lot of effort into derailing this. But I think that There is excellent work being done by the Law Commission. The Civil Service have done some good work on this. So the preparation for reform is being done. But it is disappointing when a housing minister appears before a select committee and performs so weakly and ill-informedly on this subject.
So I also think that to a certain extent, the developers got the government over a barrel. You know, they've set themselves ambitious new build housing targets. You know, it's easy for the developers to say, well, do you know what, lean on us too hard on this and you just won't hit your targets, will you?
Okay, brilliant. Okay, well, thank you very much indeed, Joe Darbyshire. I'm very sorry to hear your story, and I'm sure there's lots more like you out there. Good luck in your fight against the shysters, Taylor Wimpey. And Sebastian O'Kelly, who has been battling, to my certain knowledge, for years now, to get. They're fighting on our behalf. Leasehold is being exploited by developers in lots of different ways. Please study the small print. It's very dangerous.